We'll build this together, any type of weather. Unity is key. Keeping first G-O-D. We will conquer the world. Baby, just you and me. I can vision us now. One big happy family.
What's up, y'all? I'm Lonnie.
I'm Latoya.
This is the Way of the Walkers. What we getting into today, babe?
So, this is the title of this episode. Under pressure. Are your ideas about marriage stressing you out?
Okay. So,
Ooh, right? Because people get stressed out when they talk about marriage. I can't think of anybody who talks about marriage and not have a little anxiety behind the marriage situation.
yeah, part of it is just communicating with people that you're not in a relationship with is difficult. And now you have this constant person that you're going to be in relations with to the end.
To the end.
So, all right. So let's talk about it.
So what were your ideas about marriage?
So my idea was I was going to meet someone.
Me?
Yes, I was gonna meet you.
Me.
Well, let's address that since you did all of that. We're gonna address it first. I never thought I would meet anyone like you.
Oh, I thought you were about to be shady. Thanks, babe.
I'm not you, so I wouldn't do that.
Whatever.
So I never thought I would meet someone like you. I was just hoping that I met someone who was nice, okay. Now I have to say this though, they were gonna have to look good. I wasn't gonna sacrifice that. I'm not gonna go deeper. I'm gonna stop right there. But they was gonna have to look good. But my idea is, I'm gonna find somebody, a woman. Gotta be clear. Oh my gosh. Get married, have children.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna provide.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna take care of them. Now, I wasn't looking for a wife who was gonna cook and clean for me because I knew how to do all that. I knew how to I've been washing my own clothes since I was 10. I've been cooking, if we want to call what I do cooking, since I was about 10.
It's edible, so yes.
Well, I liked it and I ate it. And we know that my appetite, which we probably, when we get deeper into this podcast, we're gonna understand that my taste is very, very selective. It's very, very unique to me. There's very few items. It's pretty much steak, chicken, potatoes, and homemade tacos, not Taco Bell.
Yeah.
No shade on Taco Bell, but I just don't eat that. My palate is small, so I wasn't looking for one to cook. I was just looking somebody to be with, marry. And one of the goals that I wanted, my thought process was I wanted to make sure that my wife was content.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, it appeared that the women that were around me, that's aunts, grandma, mom, once they weren't content in a relationship, they abandoned the relationship. So one of my goals was, and that could be why my expectations wasn't for my wife to wash my clothes because I'm like, I don't want you to have to do anything for me. I just want you to be content in being with me.
Yeah.
I don't need you to do all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, I'm not looking for that. I want somebody to be with me. Really, I just want you to be with me, not necessarily do any of those things that comes with. And typically when you marry somebody, you have a wife, she cooks and all that stuff.
Right.
So my expectations were very, very low on that. But I knew when I met you, but we're not going to revisit that you were different. And I wanted you in my life for as long as you wanted to be there. Because the experiences that I saw was a situation where once your use was done, they didn't need the man no more.
Mm-hmm.
Like he wasn't paying bills, he wasn't giving them money, he wasn't taking care of them in any manner. That he served his purpose. Typically, the women would cut him loose,
right,
and then it would be on to the next one. So that's kind of what my childhood structure was.
Yeah. So, you said something that I was like, that is how you treat me. You don't really place a lot of expectations on me. You you even with cooking, like you really don't cook. You don't cook.
Well,
So,
now I just
but I'm just
like
trying to make a point. So you don't cook. So if I don't cook, what are you gonna eat? Sometimes you'll go get fast food or whatever, but you don't even put that expectation on me that I want you to cook every day, because if you don't cook, I'm not gonna eat. You don't even do that. You even with I can't remember last time I washed your clothes, because
wow.
right, because you've always been on that.
I'm
You've
trying to
always
think.
you've always washed your clothes. That impressed me when we first met. Like, you were self-sufficient. It wasn't, oh, I need somebody, or act like you don't know how to do something, so I'll step in and do it, like some people do.
Hmm.
And just like, oh, I can't do this. Washing dishes. Is this how you wash the dish? Is this how you dry dish? It wasn't any. You were like, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do it well. So you were very self-sufficient in that, I guess, domesticated way.
Hmm.
Yeah. And you still don't put those expectations on me.
Yeah. My mom, now that's something that, like I said, I've been doing that kind of stuff myself. So when we're talking about cooking, I'm not talking about real cooking, y'all. We talking about Easy Mac,
And now
warm
that
up.
we have an air
And
fryer,
now we have an air fryer,
listen, everything
and
goes in
then,
air fryer.
chicken, like everything goes in there. As far as cooking like a real, like Thanksgiving, Christmas, not
Or
at
just
all.
just a lasagna or spaghetti or beef tips or pork chops, stuff like that I cook for you. You don't do that kind of
Well,
stuff.
I could cook the spaghetti, but it's not gonna taste as good as yours.
Thank you, baby.
So, but no, like I said, when I was on the road, I fixed stuff and I ate.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend what I was eating,
What
but
you would
it did it for me.
It sustained you.
Right.
Yeah. I remember you making me some stuff before
Are you
while
about
we
to
were
tell that
dating.
story? Are
While we
you?
were
Are you
dating.
about to tell it?
Listen, babe. This is way of the Walkers. This has happened during our way.
Wow.
So when we were
Remember you were
dating.
talking about I thought you was gonna be shady, babe.
Anyway,
Woo.
so I remember we were dating. You had a party out at Sam. I came out there to see you. Or maybe it was here. I can't remember which location. But you cooked for me. You made me a meal. And it was what you like to call your goulash. I don't know why you call it goulash. Because there's an actual dish that is goulash. And it's not what you make.
Y'all see this shade that
It's
is
not
coming here.
shady.
Go ahead, babe. But I'm
So,
pretty sure if I made that, it was probably in Huntsville.
Huntsville.
Yeah.
Okay. So you had your rice. You have rice in it with ground beef
Correct.
and peas.
And one more vegetable. It's
Corn.
Yellow. That's right.
And
Basically,
he
the
mixed it
vegetables
all
I eat
together.
only.
Right, the only vegetable he
Uh,
eat. And he
Wait, is potato a vegetable?
it's a root vegetable, yeah. It's
Okay, so potatoes, but pretty much all the vegetables that I eat.
So he made that dish for me.
She does not seem like she was pleased.
It was
It was the thought that counted.
It was the thought that counted. It was wonderful. It was romantic because you took the time. We had like apple juice, I think, to eat with. I mean, drink with it. It was sweet. It was very sweet. But that just, when you were talking about what you make, it reminded me of that's what you make. And the first time you made it for me, and I was like, okay, this is interesting.
I thought you was gonna tell the other one.
Oh, I
but,
don't know.
But we weren't supposed to discuss that at all. That was not what we discussed.
Not in our notes.
I thought you was gonna talk about when I brought you the sandwich. That's where I thought you was gonna go.
Oh, listen, we were both struggling college students. So there are plenty of times where I I paid for my college. I went to a community college here. And I had to pay for my food, my gas, insurance, or whatever. So I was working at Stride Right, like the shoe place for kids. I wasn't making a lot of money. So there'd be times when he was home that I would call him home from college. I would call him and ask him if he could bring me a sandwich or something up to work because I didn't have anything to eat. So one time he came to bring me some food, and I was so excited. I was like, so excited. I'm so hungry. Because he was bringing me a sandwich. So I got the sandwich out my lunch break, and oh man, I took a huge bite of the sandwich. And I was like, it was a ham sandwich, right?
Yes, it was
And then it
ham.
had like a glob like of jelly in it.
It wasn't a glob.
And I was
Man,
like,
let me
"What
explain
is
this. Man, it's amazing. So here you go.
Oh,
So
no.
you get 2 pieces of bread.
No, we don't need to hear the
Toasted on both
breakdown. We
sides.
don't need to
Light
hear.
butter on the bread so it melts. Then you get grape jelly, put grape jelly on it, and then
You have to microwave the
You
ham.
microwave the ham.
You
It's
don't
gonna be
forget
pop, pop,
that
pop,
part.
pop, pop.
It gotta pop.
So the edge is gonna be, and then you're gonna have 3
Crispy.
pieces of ham, and you strategically place them so they can cover the whole bread. You put it on there, and you eat it. I did bring some chips.
And I tore up those chips. Those chips.
It don't sound like you tore
Those
up.
chips was hidden. That's all I gotta say.
So was that sandwich,
But I appreciate that.
That's the last time I made you something, probably.
Well, that sandwich.
Yeah. Oh no, you told me we almost broke up because of that sandwich. You did not like that at all.
No, we didn't. So we got off on a tangent. Okay, so my idea of what marriage looked like, it's interesting because I really didn't see a functioning marriage growing up. So I made up in my mind that I was going to be whatever I needed to be as a wife that would serve my husband well. So I didn't have like a lot of expectations, and it's similar to what you talked about, how you really didn't place a lot of expectations on me. I really didn't do that for you either. I was more concerned about what are you going to do to sustain this marriage? How can you help to be what you need to be to help this marriage? So I didn't have a lot of like fast, hard rules, or this is what I want and this is how I want it. I wanted to be flexible. I wanted to extend grace. I really didn't have expectations. It's weird. I just felt like I could, if I did my part, then I couldn't change you. I couldn't change whomever I was going to end up with. So that's what my focus was.
So I think because we came into our marriage with really no expectations of what we were getting from the other person, it helped us because it's
That's for
something
sure.
that had to kind of develop. A lot of the
Right.
people that I talk to, the reason that they feel that their marriage is failing is because they have unrealistic expectations.
And not only do they have unrealistic expectations, they don't even have clear expectations. So how am I going to have an expectation from you that I didn't even tell you about? You're supposed to live up to a standard that I place on you. That, first of all, can you live up to it? I don't even know if you're capable. There's certain things that you're not capable of doing. Not in this moment. If I were to go home and say, baby, I need you to make me whatever meal, you'd be like, where do I start?
No, I would make you something,
Right.
but it may not taste
Right.
like you want it to taste.
So some people have skills and abilities proclivities to be a certain way, and when you place expectations on them and they don't line up with those things, and you walk away with bitterness and anger and resentment because they don't fulfill your expectation.
So that's really good. So one of the things that you hear all the time is men have these expectations
Mm-hmm.
of their wives, and that's not only working, they want them working because they want, I guess the best way to say, they won't help with these bills,
Yeah,
but then their expectation also is the cooking and the cleaning and then the extracurricular. But sometimes that's not communicated. If your needs aren't communicated to the other person, they might not know that it's even a need
exactly.
to address it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not now in the situation where you're talking about the cooking, yeah, if the person can't cook, then they can't cook.
Mm-hmm.
But if some of these other needs that you have that can be addressed, if you're not don't have the courage or feel safe to speak them,
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, I need this, I need that, they can't be addressed, then like you said, then resentment shows up, and then those are open doors.
Something that happened in our marriage, we'll get into the different traumas that we've been through in later episodes, but um, my stepdad he was a huge trigger for me. It was a situation where I really couldn't deal with the stress of managing our relationship when he started to behave erratically. And if you would have placed on me the expectation of, you need to handle your crazy family, you need to deal with that. I don't want why can't you call him? Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? I physically wasn't able to, emotionally able to deal with it, because when he behaved a certain way, I would turn right back into that 12-year-old. And I would need my husband to step in to support me and to guide me and to be a shield for me. And you stepped in and you handled it. And I think about a lot of situations where there's baggage and someone shows up in a relationship with baggage. Everybody's gonna have baggage, first of all. But how you deal with it means everything. And if you would have been resentful towards me because of my baggage, it would have looked totally different. But instead of looking at me and saying, why am I having to deal with this? You should talk to your dad. That's your daddy. You stepped in and you said, baby, give me the phone. Baby, I'm going to go over there. Baby, I'll get the door. You were always there to buffer me from that because I was not able to tolerate it at that time.
It's interesting how the thing that you are, once you find out who you are and you use it in the proper way,
Yeah.
so that protecting you and that aggression, it's in me,
Oh, yes, sir.
but it is
That aggression is
but
definitely in there.
using the aggression in the proper manner
Right.
and protecting you. So that's one of the things that I knew my wife, that I was going to have to protect her. But when you think about protecting them, typically you're like protecting them from other people, breaking in the house. You're not
Right.
thinking you're protecting them emotionally.
And sometimes for myself.
Yes,
Right,
protecting you
because
from
a lot of
yourself.
times I I found value in performance because I was a good one. I was the one that, oh, we can always depend on Latoya. She was a um mature. You're so mature. I grew up way sooner than I should have. And so I always felt like I had to be a certain way, which is a level of perfection and people pleasing. So when certain situations happened that involved my family, I had that burden of, oh, I have to, because this is who I am. Like, that's who I didn't know myself other than that, because that's what was placed on me. And babe, there's so much liberty that you gave me because I didn't have the bandwidth to really say no. I was like, well, I'm gonna do it because they asked me to do it, and I would feel bad if I didn't do it. And I remember one time we were at the house, and some Black family member called, and they asked if we could help them move. Do you remember that?
I don't remember who it is, but
Yeah, right. But you
but
remember
I
the
know I don't like
situation,
moving,
right?
so I'm gonna remember that.
And I said, well, babe, we have the vehicle to help them, and we can go over there, and I mean, they really do need our help. And you're like, I don't know. I said, yeah, but we're not doing anything. We can go. And you said, yeah, and I don't want to do anything, and that's okay.
That's right.
And I was like, you're right. It's okay that I don't want to go and do that, even if I'm not doing anything. You don't have to feel like you have to go and do that if that's not something that you want to do. Now I know sometimes you're like, okay, I'm going to sacrifice time and money or whatever to help people, but then there's times where you need to think about, is this really something that I have to do right now, that I want to do right now? And you helped me so much in that.
It helps that I didn't want to do anything but be with you. So
That's
that helped a lot. It makes it real easy. But one of the things, I think growing up, you're getting told what to do, and the answer is because I said so.
Mhm.
Once you become an adult and understand that you do not have to insert yourself into toxic situations, you do not have to just keep giving and giving and giving and giving to people until you have nothing left. You have to set up the proper boundaries. Now, I know my boundaries were super tight at first.
Yes.
I'm
They're very
way more giving
aggressive.
now. But
And we balance each other because you were like this and I was like this.
right.
Like, and so we're kind of like this now. I think it kind of goes back and forth a little bit depending on the situation.
So it's just like anything else. We get asked to do something, I'm gonna run it by you. And if it's
Right.
a yes on both, we do it. If there's a no on one side or the other, then we got to get to the bottom of the no,
Right.
and then we land somewhere together. I mean, it's just part of just being in a relationship. And look, I take my charge to protect you seriously.
Yes, you do. And
You know what
I
my
think
name
it's super
means.
sexy.
I don't know if I will call it sexy,
I do.
but yeah, I'm ready for battle. That's
Yes, you
my
are.
name means.
Your name means that.
So I'm actually looking for somewhere to battle. So yes,
yes, you are always looking at him like, baby. He loves when I let him off his leash because we call him my pit bull. And usually I'm like, baby, no. But every once in a while I'm like, go ahead. He be like, yes.
Yes, they don't happen as often as I would like, but that's a whole another thing too.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the expectations that you've heard from various individuals, especially when it comes to men, and how we have a couple of single guys that we know, and typically they say stuff like, well, we don't want to get married yet because we're not financially ready. So was that ever something that you dealt with?
It's a real thing. So before we got engaged, I didn't have a job.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to propose to you when I
you
didn't
were
have
working
a
like
job.
at Target.
Yeah, that's not a job.
Right.
Like, no.
I mean, you were a college
Target.
student. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about after I graduated, because remember I worked after.
Oh, yes.
And so I didn't have a job, so I wasn't in a situation. So as soon as I secured the job, and that's the thing, once I secured the job and I knew I was gonna have a salary, I was gonna have a career, then it was time to make that next step. Now we had been dating 5 years, but if I had been, I guess financially, if I had a job, a real job, 2 years in, we would have got engaged and got married faster. But some guys, they feel like they gotta have.
A lot of guys
they're like,
have those shops.
right, they have the job, but they want to have
established.
$500,000 or $1
Yeah.
million. But the thing is that those things are going to fluctuate. And then that's also something that you could build with that mate.
Yeah.
I mean, you're choosing who you marrying. So, if you know you got a go-getter entrepreneur and she going to get it, y'all can build that $1 million, $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to have it yourself. Sometimes these excuses, they just don't want to commit.
That's absolutely true.
And then the thing is what they don't understand, to me anyway, is once you get a $500,000, $1 million and you single, now you concerned that is somebody trying to be with you because you got the millie.
That's true.
So they can get half. Or now I got this bread, I can kind of move how I want to move. I can do
More
the
options,
private jet.
opportunities.
I can go meet here, I go meet there. You in a whole nother sphere.
Mm-hmm.
And then that could be problematic in itself because now they coming after you. And then if you got it, you going to have on what shows that you got it. You're going to have the Lamborghini. You're going to have the Ferrari. And so you're going to attract what that attract.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I guess it's preference.
Yeah.
It's preference. So
for sure. There are a lot of TV shows that we watch. And we love watching Love is Blind.
That's
and
one.
What's the other one?
Married at First Sight.
You guys, if you do not watch Married at First Sight Australia, you missing out. What's
the other one? We gotta mention the Ready to Love. We watched Ready to Love.
Ready to Love.
We
be watching those things.
Yeah. No, the Australia.
Oh my gosh.
If you haven't, oh my gosh.
It's so good.
Yeah.
But these people come on these shows with these ideas about what this person needs to show up for them as. So it'd be like, oh, I'm on the show. Oh my gosh. Whoever steps to me needs to have this, and this. And they always talk about how they want their person to make them feel. And my person is always like a thing that's like, my person. But I don't hear them saying, what am I going to be for that person? Like, what can I be for that person? They're always talking about what that other person can be for them. And I think, like you said, because we came in our relationship with the idea of, I need to be something for that person, that's what helps us a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting because you have a gentleman, and this is a perfect example of, he has the money, he has the career, and so he has his whole life set. And now he's looking for a woman that I need you to come sit right here so that you can be what I want you to be in my life,
right,
versus us building something together and what I can do for you, versus you just coming and being a trophy wife. And then it's a control thing.
Yeah.
Because now that you're in their pocket, you got to do everything in that little pocket or it's not going to work for them.
Right.
It's going to fall apart. One of the things that they talk about on here, which I need my phone. But one of the things they talk about all the time is communication is the key. And so,
oh yeah,
communication.
People always come up to us. They'll come up to us and they'll find out how long we've been married. They'll see how we interact, and they'll say, "Well, what's the secret to y'all's marriage? What's the secret to your marriage?" And typically, when you hear the answer, communication is what they say, right?
Right.
So
you can communicate and not be communicating effectively.
Absolutely. There are a lot of times where you see, okay, this thing about the political arena, those people, when they are up there at their pedestals doing their debates, they're communicating. They're communicating very well, but no one's hearing anyone. No one is pausing to let anyone else finish their sentence completely. But they are communicating. We communicate all the time. We communicate when we cut people off in traffic, right? That's a communication. There are so many ways that we communicate. And for people to just say the secret to a healthy relationship is communication, we feel like that's not going far enough.
Yeah,
That's not
that's
enough.
because people communicate. Fights and arguments start over communication, and you don't want to be in a relationship or in a marriage where you're verbally or physically are being abused. But you communicating.
Right.
You're
Right. That's
communicating. I'm
communication.
angry. I don't like your mama and whatever other
You
insults that
ugly.
you right.
Whatever.
Or you think you this, you think you all that, all of that. You communicating that, but you're not reaching a conclusion. You're not resolving and de-escalating the situation. Most times communication escalates.
What? Right.
So one of the things that I try to do now is, first of all, actively listen. So that means I'm not listening to wait for them to pause to say what I'm trying to say.
Right.
It's a 1, 2, 3 for me. It's kind of like listen, 1, 2, 3, then respond. Because two things happen. One, if you're listening, you're really hearing what they're saying. If you're coming up in your mind what you're going to say back, you're going to miss what they said. They may address what you're about to complain about.
Yeah.
Two, for me, sometimes when I hear something, the first thing that popped in my mind is not what needs to be said in response to that.
Right.
And then three is just giving you time. And then sometimes you may hear something and you be like, wait a minute. And I'll go, okay, so this is what I heard you say. And then I'll say what I think I heard. You'll be amazed if you did that, how many times they were like, that's not what I said.
Right.
Like, it's the example they always use is, do you like this dress? And I'm like, no, I don't like this dress. And then the woman be like, oh, you think I'm ugly? No,
How
that's
you
not
think
what
I
I
look out of
said.
this dress?
I
Yeah.
said the dress. I don't like the dress. It
dress.
has nothing to do with you.
Right.
But it's not what you heard. And you'll be amazed at how often when you're in I'm going to say a discussion, not an argument. When you're in a discussion with somebody or debating because you have a difference of opinion,
Mhm.
that you're not hearing what that person is saying. You're hearing what they're saying, but then you're interpreting
Right.
something
Through
else.
your filters.
I wish I could remember the last time we had a discussion and I came and I sat on the bed and I was like, babe, this is what I heard you say.
And I'm
And
like,
you were like,
that's not what I
boy, what I say?
said.
Where you get all that
That's
from?
not
You up
what I
there
said.
adding to what I said. I didn't say
Right.
anything of
Right.
that nature. And then when it's like, okay, so tell me what you said. And then if it's still not clear, give me clear understanding of what that is. And when you get the clear understanding, you'll understand that, first of all, it wasn't meant to be offensive. It was
Right.
constructive criticism to try to make you better
Right.
versus you being offended in your feelings because you think they called you stupid. And they're like, no, you just don't pronounce that word like this. Pronounce this word like that.
Right.
So,
So one of the biggest hurdles that we have in our relationship is communication, because when we got together, we kind of fit the stereotypical male female ideals, right? You were very clear on that you wanted to go out and provide for the family, and that I would stay at home, take care of the kids, and be your domestic support. And that's what I wanted to do as well. So that meshed well. So a lot of couples have problems in that area. We didn't have problems in that area. Our idea of how we were going to function in the marriage was like, okay, that's going to work, and it wasn't a problem. But when it came to communication, it was definitely and is sometimes still a struggle for us.
yes. So for me, I wasn't heard. And so I'm going to go further. Typically, when I voiced a concern that I had growing up, it was dismissed.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, you tripping, or there you go again.
Right.
So I brought that into our marriage, and so when I get in a situation where, I want to speak on something, it's like, well, you don't want the rejection, because if it's going to be dismissed, you might as well keep it to yourself.
Right.
So I know sometimes you got to pull it out of me.
Yes.
Because there's nothing worse than you bringing a concern to someone and then somebody's like, you tripping, because that's what I'm used to.
Mm-hmm.
And man, we're gonna get into more stories on other episodes, but and so so sometimes when it's certain things, it's hard because sometimes something will happen and you'll see my face and you'll be like, "What's that?"
Yes.
And I'll be like,
What
it's
is
nothing.
that? It's not.
Look,
And I'm like,
not
listen, sir.
not even with a smile. Like,
Listen, sir.
it's nothing.
Right.
And I'm toasty.
And we know each other pretty well.
Yeah.
So I'm usually spot on with, excuse me, sir, what's going on? And he'll be like, oh, nothing.
But also sometimes I don't have the words
Right,
yet.
right.
Because it doesn't make sense for me to lash out in anger, especially if I misinterpret what was said or what was done. I'll give an example. I was at work when I was working
Oh
at
my
State
gosh.
Farm, and the gentleman paid me a compliment about how well I take care of my family. But I didn't hear him clearly. And I turned to him and I said, "Man, keep my family out your mouth. Don't you ever say nothing about my wife again." And he was like, "Bro, I was just paying you a compliment." I said, "It didn't sound like a compliment to me." And I walked off.
And then he told me the conversation.
Yeah.
And I was able to interpret it a different way and tell him, well, babe. What usually happens is he'll come to me with the situation, and then I'll be able to reword it so he could hear it. And it's like I can take off the filters that he has, and I'll say, okay, baby, let's clean it all up. And this is really what was said. And then he was like, oh my gosh, what?
I was like, "Oh my gosh." But then I was like, he don't know me like that. He shouldn't have said nothing to me. So dismissive.
Dismissive. And that is still one of the challenges that we face is communication. So, and that being a challenge that we have, because I remember we did some kind of tests just recently, maybe a year ago, where we are part of some marriage retreat kind of thing where they do tests and show you where you're lacking, for better terms, I guess. And the only place that we were having issue were communication, where we scored lower than what they would have preferred. And when they said that, we are fully aware of that. We're like, yeah, we understand that. We get it. So we know that if we just say communication is the key to our marriage, it is not true.
Right.
It is not true, because we have realized that what really has to be our key, the foundation of the pillars of communication, has to be humility. And humility is what keeps us sane and not thinking, oh, he said this, she said that, and just having our trauma and our filters really color what someone else is saying. And it's a discipline of humility. It takes work. And a lot of people say, oh, marriage is work. It's too much work for a relationship or whatever. But every relationship is work. I can't think of any relationship that you don't have to put in some work in.
Your work relationship with your boss,
your family, your everything.
Coworker that you don't get along with, but you work with them, you can't fire them.
Right.
You know that they may not be doing what they supposed to be doing. Relationship with your mom, your dad, your brothers, all of these relationships are relationships that is work if you're going to keep it together, because all it takes is one person to have a misunderstanding and then the whole thing can fall apart. It's work. The only difference is when you married and you're living together and you have children, you have other variables, but essentially it's you and your wife, and y'all got to figure this thing out.
Right. So, we hold firm to the discipline of humility, and we have humility, and then on top of that humility to build the foundation of where the pillars of communication stand in our marriage would be servanthood. So you can't be a servant. We can't be servants to one another, which is basically being the best that we can be for the other person, unless we had a heart and the discipline of humility. So, our mission statement, because we know that our biggest hurdle, and I would probably say the majority of relationships, the biggest hurdle is communication that's not working right. And what needs to be inserted is some grace and humility. So we on our mission statement for our marriage, we have a marriage mission statement, just so you guys know. I'll tell you right now. Okay. In order to ensure each other's needs are met, we work to serve one another by listening, receiving, and responding with humility. And as we strive to value and respect our differences, we submit ourselves one to the other and to God. So we purposefully try and work hard to keep humility as the forefront of our communication, because communication is not enough.
No, it's important. So servanthood and what that looks like is that mean that you're digging deep and you're trying to meet the needs of your significant other. So that means if you're not super affectionate, but that person needs affection, that you're trying to the best of your ability to meet that need. A lot of people see us and they say, man, y'all do this, do that. I remember we were walking from church and a gentleman friend of mine, I'm not gonna say their name, he saw us and we were walking in the parking lot and we were holding hands.
Oh,
And he
yes.
called me and he was like, hey man, he said, how long you and your wife been married? And I was like, man, we've been married for 23 years. He said, man, it really blessed my heart that I saw y'all holding hand and y'all been married that long. He was like, I want that. And I told him, I said, you can have it if you hold your wife's hand when you leave in church.
How about that?
It ain't, it's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
And it's the little things that you do that has the big impact.
That's right.
Like remember we went to Randall's and I opened the door
Oh
for
yeah.
you.
Oh yeah.
It was a young buck.
Oh
It was a
my
young buck.
gosh. They must have been watching us, because unless they just glanced over and saw that one
No,
situation.
I think they saw us coming out. We probably was holding hands then.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So tell what happened though.
So we're across the parking lot. He yells out, "Hey, bro!
We're trying to.
We're trying. We want y'all to."
It was like a bet,
They
not a
bet.
bet.
He was like, I think he said
I
something
bet
like,
he don't do that all the time, or something like that.
We got a bet. I think that's what he said. He said we got a bet.
He was in the car with his girlfriend, wife, significant other.
Yeah, they were
whatever.
no, they were walking in because we were walking. Yeah, they were walking in. I think they saw us when we were coming out, and they were walking in, and they probably had a conversation like, "Look, he holding her hand." She probably said that to him, and then he saw that I was opening the door,
right?
And so he yells out, "We got a bet, man. Do you open the door for her all the time?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And then she started laughing.
Right.
You don't know the impact that those small things and how it can impact the relationship. Just care. And I tell her all the time, I'm like, I know you can open your own door. No, you can.
Right.
I know that, well, you can hold your own hand too. Good. But I want to do everything that I can do for you, not because you can't do it, it's because I want to serve you in that way.
Right.
And that's just, it's the little things that add up.
Right. And I really appreciate those little things, because a lot of earlier on in our relationship, I wasn't getting them. And I came to you to express that I needed that. And it took a while because just like we had expectations, like, oh, I didn't have expectation of him doing these things in our relationship, because when I married him, I was pretty sure of who I was getting. And I was like, he's not affectionate. So you're going to have to be okay with him not being affectionate. But then when our daughter was born and I saw him being affectionate towards her, I knew that my heart couldn't take it. So I wanted to go to counseling to ask how I could handle seeing that without building resentment and bitterness and anger. And I was willing to not receive it. I just wanted to know how I could endure seeing it. And so I didn't even turn around and say, you need to do da 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 da. But in the counseling, they steered you towards, okay, if it's a need, then maybe it's something you can work on. And he works on it, and we worked on it. And now it's kind of like it's not a big deal for him to do it. And it's so awesome because it was such a huge thing for him to overcome. There are times where we would be sitting at the house. I would come and sit next to him. He would sit there for maybe about 2 or 3 minutes, and then he would get up and go sit somewhere else. And so
was it that obvious, or was it a get up, go in the kitchen, get a bottle of water?
It was both sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes he was like, let me go and rifle through some mail over here,
Right.
and then
I
I'll
mean, I
sit over
wasn't
here.
just-
And
yeah.
but sometimes he would just get up and shift. So but now we're up on each other all the time because he believes my love for him. He accepts that I really love him, when before it was hard for him to really see that. And I think it goes back to me being submitted to humility and to extending grace to him, and not just villainizing him at every turn because I wasn't receiving the affection and the care that I really desired. I tried not to make him feel guilty because of it.
Okay, so we got to make sure that it's clear.
Mhm.
So when we got married, you knew that I wasn't affectionate.
Right.
So your expectations for that were not there.
Right.
But then once you found out that I was capable,
Right.
instead of you checking me, slapping me or anything, you was like, hey, this is something that I want to go to counseling, not to fix me. You said we're going to counseling so you could figure out how to deal with the lack of affection that I was giving you.
Right.
And I was like, okay.
Right.
And so when we got there, we got to the bottom of it. And then they told me I had work to do. They were like, the problem is not you dealing with this the rest of your life. The problem is why isn't he giving you the affection that he needs, because I'm capable. And we
Right.
understand in some situations a person may not be capable of giving you what you need, but once you know that they can,
Mhm.
then you got to fix you.
Right.
It was me being comfortable with myself. That
Right.
was part of the problem. Feeling that, first of all, that she really wanted it. She really wanted do you really want this affection from me?
Right.
And then if I attempt to give it to you and you reject me
Mhm.
because of all the rejection from childhood, that's not gonna go well. That's one of those, you know how somebody be like, can I have some Skittles? And with an attitude, you say,
Yeah.
here, you can have some. You be like, you know what, that's okay.
Bye. Like,
Right.
here, take these Skittles.
So, I mean, it was a process.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew all the walls that I had up, but
Mhm.
all of it was defense mechanisms that I built from all the old childhood trauma that I had. And so now, it's not I don't have to think. When I first started, it was a process of, okay, she needs this. She needs this. She wants this. I don't even know if it's a need. She wants this from me, and I need to meet that need. And then being intentional and thinking, because at first it was a lot of thought. It was like, okay, we're about to go somewhere. She's probably going to hold your hand.
Like,
Look,
okay.
hold your hand.
Like,
She
and
might.
oh my gosh, when it
she
first
might want to
started, it was the hand was like this. Like he was holding me. I'm like, ugh. The hugs. I would hug him, and his body was rigid like this.
No,
So
I thought it was like you had a dead fish in your hand.
what? Oh,
When you were holding my hand would just
sometimes
be there.
it would vacillate. It would be.
Oh, so I was doing the remix.
Yes.
Okay.
I guess
But
depending
now,
on what.
give me your hand. No.
It's
So
not
now
gonna
I
work.
want it. Now we hold hands like this.
Oh, is that how we do? Okay.
Well, we don't shake it. Like, I don't know what that was. Guess you praying for me right now. But it's all natural. It's all just, it's fluid. But it took time. I part of it was probably me believing it, getting out of my head to realize that this is something she wants. This is something that she needs, and I'm not going to be rejected when I do it. Then once I'm believing that she really wanted, now sometimes we walk in my hand just out there, and she'll be doing something, and I'm like, man, my hand here.
And then I'm like, oh, all right, give me that hand. But I just have to commend you on that because I saw your childhood through your eyes and through different stories that your people told. And it was tough. It was very tough. And being an abandoned son by a mother and not receiving that affection from your mom, it's kind of like you didn't even know how to receive it from me. And then you definitely did not know how to give it to me. So I have to commend you because you did really dig into your servant heart, because you really, really do have a servant heart. And you allowed that to propel you to serve me in that way.
Yeah. It was tough learning a lot of things on the job. Well, my biological father wasn't there. My mom was in and out. And then the stepdad situation, which we'll get into, that wasn't good. So not seeing it modeled, seeing men doing minimum.
That's right there, because that was real evidence.
Seeing men doing minimum, they putting their hands on women. They're using women, taking their money, those kind of things is what I saw. And then the women essentially were, probably because of how they was brought up, they were in survival mode. So they was like, whatever we can get from the men around us, we're gonna get it, because they know the other shoe gonna drop. So it's just,
I mean, because they were getting beat on, they were getting, their money was getting taken too. It just was not not healthy.
They was putting the paws on some of them too, though.
True.
Grandma, mama ain't no punk. Now they was so they wasn't losing them all, but it's just the point. It was that kind of toxic type situation, and so a lot of this, when we got married and said I do, I didn't know what I was saying I do to.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think anybody really knows. It's kind of like when you have a child, and you can read all the books. You can think you know because you helped raise your niece and uncle. Oh, not your uncle, but hopefully not your uncle.
Well, my uncle only 2 months older than me, so he might have been raised with me too.
But you helped step in and you worked at the daycare and whatever else. But not until you have your own child do you know what that entails There's nothing that you can do to really prepare because your heart is not as invested in those other situations like it will be with your child. So it hit different. It hit different.
Yeah, I think probably 5 years in, by year 5 of marriage, we had all 3 children.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I finally was like, okay, I understand. I understand my role as a father. I understand my role as a dad. I understand my role as a lead man of the household and what that means. And so you're the head of the household, but you're not leading with an iron fist.
Right.
You're leading and with love and
Grace and
compassion
humility. Yes.
for your family. So we're not the evil king. I'm the
We're
king
the
of the castle.
benevolent king.
Right. We
Right.
are leading in love, care, and compassion, especially with the wife and daughters and son, as I am the example for my son, what a father's supposed to be, what a dad's supposed to be, for my daughters, what their husband's supposed to bring to the table. When you come to a realization that what we are walking in our marriage is not about us,
Right.
it's about the Lord and being an example,
Exactly.
it changes the dynamic of the whole situation. One of the things that I loved about us before we did do premarital counseling,
Yeah, that's right.
we were like, yeah, we're not getting a divorce. Like we ain't about that life at
Yeah,
all. And so what that means is you got to work through everything.
that's right.
And we've been working through a great your patience and your grace with me. So she met me. So I was 20, I turned 21 years old that summer. A 20-year-old broken,
Oof.
rejected, all kind of anger issues
Yes, yes,
child,
yes.
because I was a child. I was stuck at 10. And so she had to basically be with me as I grow into the man that I am now,
Right.
which is amazing that you had the patience and the grace. I don't even know a word that's stronger than grace, but if there is one, just put that on top of it. And for us to, I'm just glad that now we're here. We got about to be 21, 19, and 17-year-old. We almost got them all done, and then I can just have you to myself, like the whole plan was. The
Like
plan
the
was
plan
to have
was.
you to myself, and then these other people showed up, and so now
These other people showed up.
they did, man. Shoot.
At least you stopped calling them blockers.
Well, I used to call them blockers and
Well, now
liabilities.
you have to call them blockers and haters. Like,
Oh
I'm like,
no,
baby.
they still be hating a little
I'm like,
bit.
don't call your children blockers and haters.
They all right. They doing less blocking and
Yeah.
less hating.
True.
So they were innocent but now they pretty much self-sufficient. So
Yeah. But again, I just want to tell you, I love that you honor me by understanding how much I had to go through with you. It really helped that I wasn't always in the mindset of what about me? What about me? What about me? That's a problem that a lot of people have. The what about me syndrome. Um, and we said that we work in humility towards each other. And I think that that has always been in our hearts for each other. And I kind of had to really tap into that when we first were together. Um, but yeah, babe, you've come so far. And what we said in our episode about when we first met, our love story episode, is that when I saw you, God opened my eyes and my heart towards who you really were and gave me that revelation. And people were like, not that this dude is extra. But now, what everybody said, oh, I want a Lonnie. You're so lucky. And I get to say, I told you.
She talking about her family, not other people.
You know, other people. There are definitely other people who they admire how you love me.
Yeah.
And they want to be loved in that way. Someone asked me, how does it feel to be adored? And I was like,
I don't know. How does that feel?
He adores me. They said, how does it feel to be? And they were really asking legitimately because they hadn't received that because they were in the process of getting a divorce from their husband. And they said, how does it feel to be adored? And I was like, whoa. And I'm so thankful that you adore me, baby.
I do. But it's the same. Like me and see how you submit to me, how you love me, how you support me, and how we are really like friends. And they're like, man, how do you do that? And it's time. You got to put in the work.
Yeah.
And now we do it like clockwork. So it's not work to me. We check in, but it's not work. We do it kind of seamlessly. So, I mean, it's easy to do when I'm with you.
So, this episode, Under Pressure, are your ideas about marriage stressing you out? We're not saying marriage can't be stressful, and the ideals and attitudes about marriage aren't real, but there is a way that you can have a loving, fulfilling, wonderful marriage, but you do have to put that work in, but it's worth it.
Put in the work. It'll work. Well, we appreciate y'all joining us. Subscribe.
Subscribe to our YouTube.
Check us out.
That's our time.
We'll see you next time.
We'll build this together. Any type of weather. Unity is key. Keeping first G-O-D. We will conquer the world. Baby, just you and me. I can vision us now. One big happy family.